Hi everybody, I hope you're doing well. Wanted to take a look at the paperwork that is required for an Affinity file, in particular a buyer in New Jersey. There are specific paperwork in order for us to get that buyer their rebate at closing. That paperwork is given to you in the links that's at the bottom of the referral acceptance that you receive when the file initiated. And at the bottom we'll step through each section so you have an idea of how that paperwork should be filled out. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is the second link over here. And this is the exclusive buyer's agency agreement with rebate provision. What this does is this solidifies the buyer's relationship with us in order for us to offer that rebate. It's a requirement in New Jersey, and this is the document that you need to fill out on the onset of that relationship. So what you want to fill out in these particular fields is the buyer's name, and then our brokerage name, and then the areas that they are looking. If we scroll down a little bit, section 2 asks if they're working with another broker, and complete yes or no for that section. Is pretty simple and straightforward. Section 3, this is where you declare with the buyer the relationship that you have with them. So your name is going to go as the name of the licensee, and Coldwell Banker Realty is going to be the name of the firm underneath that. We're simply scroll down, and you're going to indicate if you're working with them as a buyer agent only, or a disclosed dual agent. Start out typically with the buyer's agent only, since this is typically an affinity file for a buyer. The brokerage fee, we don't collect a brokerage fee from the buyer in this type of transaction. So in this section, this field right here, you're going to put N/A, not applicable. N/A for the number of days also underneath, because in New Jersey, the seller pays the commission. Then you scroll through. Now make sure that you read through this as you scroll through so that you know what is entailed in the agreement as well. Section 10 is the next section, and the rebate is going to be equal to, and that's the member's benefit amount. You can find that by going back to this link over here in the Affinity documents. Simply click on that link. That will open up, and depending on the sale price of the property that they are looking at and the program that they are using, you can see right next to that will be indicated whatever their benefit or that member's benefit amount will be. So you know that they are purchasing, for instance, through Navy Federal Credit Union they're looking in the price range of $300 to $324,999. Their benefit is going to be $1,750. So that's what goes in that section there. Let's go back and take a look. So we fill that in that section over there by looking at that chart. If you have any questions, reach out to the specialist. They'll be happy to help you. Matt and I will also be able to help you with that if you have any questions for that. Now this section, sometimes the seller and the buyer are a little bit apprehensive in supplying their social security number. It asks for their social security number. If they are willing to give it to you, that will go in this section over here. If not, this can be left blank, so don't worry about that. Now underneath, this is where the agreement is executed. The buyer just signs in this section, and you sign over here, and your broker will sign in this section over here. So the agreement, the buyer's agency agreement, is in place. So that's how that document works. Let's go back and take a look at the original documents that came to you also. So again, you want to do that from the onset of the relationship. If you click on that first link that was supplied, you'll hit open. You have to go through a few steps to get that to open. And you just hit allow, because you want to be able to open and access those documents. You don't even have to enter in a username and password for e-relocation. Just hit cancel and the documents will pop up for you. This document set includes an instruction sheet, step-by-step instructions on how that process works. Underneath those instruction sheets, you will see the documents that you also need to complete for the transaction. Now, this first document that we're taking a look at is your addendum to purchase and sale agreement. This is the addendum after you have a contract on a property and after the home sale contingencies have been met, especially the inspection contingencies. That's when this document gets brought into play, and it's pretty simple to fill out. You just want to date the document, the time that you're starting to fill out this document, and then enter the seller and buyer's name. Now what this document is going to do is this going to allow the seller to know that a rebate is part of the transaction. And that's why you want to wait till after the inspection contingencies have been met, so this doesn't come into play with negotiating those inspection contingencies. And then underneath there, what you want to do is enter the address of the property. Pretty simple and straightforward. The amount of the rebate is going to go into this section. Again, if you're not sure the amount of the rebate, check with the specialist, check with that chart that I showed you in the first section of this video also. And what you can also do is when you report the sale to the specialist, they're going to fill out the paperwork that tells you what that rebate is actually going to be. So that is very helpful also. So you'll have that in a few places. And then at the bottom, the buyers and the seller sign, and as agents of buyers or sellers, you also sign underneath there as well. So that's the paperwork that allows for the rebate at closing. Now again, you want to make sure that the attorney knows about the rebate being part of the transaction. So once that addendum is taken care of, make sure you get that in the attorney's hands. Part of the package is also the Affinity rebate tax and taxability reporting. That reporting is important, and make sure that you get these two pieces of paper, the top, the first page and that second page, to the buyer that you're working with on that transaction. It's part of the requirements for New Jersey that they have this information in hand. And it gives them their tax consequences to the rebate if they have any questions. If they have any questions about that, you can direct them to their attorney. Underneath there is a closing agent and attorney instruction page, and this is vital to the transaction also. So what you want to do is when you send that addendum to the attorney and make sure that they have it as part of the file, this is the instruction pages for the attorney to make sure that it's handled correctly at closing. And again, this is simple to fill out also. All you have to do is enter the customer's name, and then under that, the property address. Pretty simple and straightforward. Now, underneath that, you're going to enter the amount of the rebate that's going to take place on that. And the reason that this is important is this goes to the attorney, and this tells the attorney how this rebate should be handled. So in essence, we're reducing our commission by that rebate amount. That amount is then being credited back to the buyer on the closing disclosure. And that's what this document says. It tells the attorney that this rebate should appear in section L7 as the buyer's commission rebate on that closing disclosure. So it's a pretty vital key part to the transaction. Again, you can fill that out, send it over to the attorney, and they can take care of that. Now underneath there is the buyer's commission rebate worksheet. And here's the good news. All you have to do is report that contract to the specialist. In this case, our specialist right now is Kathy. Kathy will fill this information out for you and send you a copy, your manager a copy, and Matt and I a copy of this as well once you report that sale. So all that will be completed for you, and what that does is that breaks down the transaction for you. And that's another spot where you can find that rebate information that is being supplied to that attorney. So after that paperwork, we're going to scroll down just a little bit more. And this is the final part of the package per se. And this is pretty simple form, and this is the waiver. And this you want to actually do at the beginning of the transaction when you have filled out that buyer's agency agreement. You want to present this waiver to the buyer that you're working with, and the point of this form is to let them know that that rebate may be denied, and that's not Coldwell Banker's end, but that is the lien holder or the lender may deny that rebate. And again, this is so simple to fill out. You just enter the date, and that would be the date of the buyer's agency agreement since you're doing this the same time, and then the broker information, and then you just fill in the date on the bottom and the buyer sign that. And what that does is that makes them aware that the lender and the lien holder, in very rare circumstances, but it does happen, it lets them know that the rebate can be denied by either of those parties. And again, there's another copy of the calculation sheet that you'll be receiving from the specialist, which gives you the breakdown of the deal. Again, that is the paperwork in a nutshell. I hope you found this information helpful. Again, if you have any questions, reach out to Kathy, Matt, or myself. Thank you very much for your time.